As political parties gear up for their primary elections, the choice of who will fly their party's ticket in the 2023 general election rests solely now in the hands of delegates. The delegates perform the role of electors at party congresses or conventions to elect candidates. For aspirants to earn the right to fly their party's flags, they have to submit themselves to internal elections from ward to the national levels before they emerge as candidates. As such, the delegate system is crucial in the electoral process. But the delegate system has achieved mixed results in the Nigerian political process. While it has brought some modicum of internal democracy into the parties, it is also being seen as a corrupt system which squeezes monies from aspirants, as some of the delegates seek inducements or are openly induced financially by aspirants, thereby corrupting the process and sometimes throwing up unfit candidates for the electorate to vote. There are several allegations ongoing at the moment that some of these ad hoc delegates who are celebrating their newfound powers in the absence of statutory delegates are currently milking aspirants and even smiling to the banks. How do we reform the process? We'll be speaking with a former senior special assistant to two former Nigerian presidents, who is also the Director General of an ongoing presidential campaign. I'm Sumner Sambo, and this is the Arise interview. A very warm welcome to the show. Now, in Nigeria, the delegate system of election has not just been greeted with mixed reactions, it has also witnessed gross abuse and corruption. It's been said that delegates have been known to trade their positions to the highest bidder without considering the morale and political standing of those that seek to be elected. Again, this sometimes leads to the emergence of persons of dubious and questionable backgrounds as elected representatives. It is often said that the delegates in Nigeria have been split in three ways, according to Dr. Doyin Okupe. Number one is those that are backed by an incumbent government at the national or state level. Two, those supported by a majority of super stakeholders. This includes state governors, former governors, and leaders in states. And third, aspirants who are able to dispense huge financial resources. But with statutory delegates omitted and only the ad hoc delegates left, there is now a direct appeal to them to understand that the future of Nigeria, including their own future and that of their children, lies in their decisions as they exercise their delegated powers. Now, as the various political parties hold several congresses and conventions to elect persons who will eventually represent them in the 2023 polls, the delegates have a date with history to ensure that they elect only those with credible credentials to lead the country successfully through these trying times. Well, for more on this, I'm glad to be joined in the studio now by a former presidential advisor, Dr. Doyin Okupe, who made some of these observations. So, good to have you on the show. I mean, your submission has been generating lots of, interest. It's been circulated on social media. Lots of persons on Twitter are reading it over and over, commenting on it. Let's just ask why you decided to enlighten Nigerians on the crucial role of delegates within the electoral system.
Thank you, Sambo. The landscape, the political landscape is changing and changing rapidly. More and more people are getting interested in politics or the political process itself. I got an avalanche of requests from so many young people, and I've participated at many Zoom meetings, WhatsApp meetings, and I found out that many people do not even understand who the delegates are, how they come about, what they do. So I thought it is, these are things that, somehow we, the politicians, do not like to talk about publicly. But I thought we should.
It's a housekeeping matter.
Yeah, because it is, let me explain something to you. How did in 1999, when these delegate things really started, it was meant to pick representatives from all the zones, okay, who will come together to the center and the previous night or some previous nights before then, leaders will sit down, look at all the aspirants, and then take some decision on who is best for chairman, who is best for this, and this information is then passed to delegates. Of course, subsequently, delegates receive gratifications. You know, the hotels haven't been paid, meals and all that. They get some stipends and everybody goes home. But today, it's a business. It's a major commercialization of the democratic process. It is stinkingly corrupt and does not reflect. I mean, what the outcome is not, you know, is not something you can write home about. Delegates do not vote based on conscience. They do not vote based on patriotism or whatever, or any principle or right or wrong. It's just a question of, there are three things, like I said before. If we come from Ogun State, all right, and in Ogun State, usually there's a leader, and most delegates, you know, behave like herds, and it doesn't matter who you are. You could be a former minister, former governor.
That was the interesting part of your submission.
But,
no matter how big you are, your position, you have to subject yourself to the political.
Those who are not in politics will be, you know, will wonder why I could say something like that. That doesn't make sense. That why should a minister not be able to assert himself? You cannot. You know why? Because when you go to the convention and you're back, you know, everybody goes back to their own states. So I, Doyin Okupe, a former presidential aide and all that, I'm supposed to have some clout. But if we went to the stadium, I mean to the convention, and I didn't toe the line, okay, the powers that be in the state, they are going to sanction me. So that means even if somebody from my staple at home wants to be a councillor, they'll cancel his name, say he's Okupe's boy, forget it. They don't play ball. So, you know, so whether you like it or not, whether you agree with the main decision or not, whether it is reasonable or not, majority, I'm not saying everybody, but a majority of the delegates tend to toe the line. Yeah.
Now let's talk crucially about the role of the incumbents, right from the president, the vice president, to the governor, deputy governor, and then maybe ministers, the role that they play in controlling some of these delegates, in making them to move into the head kind of thinking that you talked about.
I'm going to use I'm going to use a language that is not really nice. There's what they call dog handler story. I mean, theory, dog handler's theory. If you have 1,000 dogs backing, or you need to control 1,000 dogs, it will be foolish for you, no matter how strong, powerful you are, to just jump into a colony of dogs, you know, wild dogs backing, and you say, shut up, keep quiet. No, there's no need. Most of the dogs are clustered, and they have some trainers. So all you need to do is just get the trainers and say, look, I don't want any noise in this place. Take care of your dogs, and that's it.
So you know everything.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I mean, it's so crude, and I regret using such comparison, but that is the graphic. And once you are president or governor, you know, in most cases, you know, you have your way, you know, because you know our political system is a system, you know, is a rewarding system. So if, again, I've used myself as an example. If I'm coming from Ogun State, and the governor is a PDP governor in Ogun State, and he says he wants Sambo to be the senator in our state, and I say, no, Sambo is not as good as Mohammed or something. You know, I don't have a right to stand on my feet. If I do, you know, either we win or lose, the governor will punish me, and those who support me.
And you'll be accused of not towing the party line.
I'm not towing the party line.
Is the party line the line of the leader or the line of the institution?
It is difficult to decipher or decode where the institution really lies. You see, now everything has become mingled. Before, you know, before now, there were institutions at the state level which, you know, also came up to the national level. But now, there's no institution as such. It's just who, either, you know, who has the power, who is an incumbent officer, governor or president, or who has the money. That is what the institution really means now.
Yeah, but We've seen and heard previously top Nigerians, top party leaders saying that the Nigerian presidency is not for sale.
That's not true.
No matter how rich you are.
Don't listen. You know, I've been involved in how presidents were chosen from 1999 to date. Forget about that story. Forget about that.
So it's no longer applicable.
It's never been applicable.
Interesting.
You know, we must speak the truth. If you want to change the system, you must understand what is wrong with the system, basically.
So if you want to reform the system, does it mean that you will have to bribe everyone and get into the system before you can reform it? Or else you'll be shut out and the system will continue that way?
I don't think, I mean, at some point during the discussion, we'll probably come back to this. Yeah. Because I belong to a group.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, and we don't believe in that. We don't believe in that. And we're not going to go into that, no matter what it costs us. Politics is not just always about winning. Sometimes, it's about making a point that people will come back and say, this guy said this, and I think we better go back to that. Do you understand? I mean, if you say, for instance now, there's nobody who can become a state governor, all right, without putting down minimum of 6 billion naira. You cannot be a president in this country without spending $300 million minimum.
Yeah, I mean, the Financial Times actually projected that it's between 200 to 500 billion naira for you to emerge as president of Nigeria. And people are wondering where that money is coming from, who are recipients of those monies, and if our democracy is not becoming too expensive.
It is the same electorate that collect this money. You understand? And if I want to be a senator and must go and look for 3 billion to become a senator, when I become a senator, why should I be responsible to anybody? And in the first instance, 3 billion is a hell lot of money, Sambo. From wherever you have taken it, there's going to be a dent. And most naturally as a human being, you would like to replenish and then have some benefit.
So Nigerians are complicit.
We all are complicit.
In all of this, because
this system cannot. I wrote what I wrote on my Facebook. It's not sustainable. We will this will have to stop somewhere.
And the question is, how do we reform it? Because saying it that the system has to end.
It can be reformed. It can be reformed where there's a political will. It can be reformed. For instance, I mean, we have done electoral reforms. I mean, we have a President Buhari, who doesn't need anything from anybody anymore. These are the calibers of people that can reform this thing. Yeah,
but we have stated you shouldn't spend beyond this and all of that. But when you go out to campaign,
to reform it, you will need legislation, all right, and you will need a lot of education and motivation. Legislation, for instance, I mean, if there's a law that says that as a candidate or an aspirant, you cannot give money to somebody to vote for you, all right? And all it takes is for your opponents to have proof that you spent money, to canvass for vote. And, the law says that you're cancelled. I mean, your candidacy is cancelled. You are banned from contesting election for 10 years. Who takes the money from you? You are all, you go to jail 6 months, 1 year. And we actually try to do it. You understand? You know how treacherous our people are. Once the law is there, people are going to be on the lookout, especially those who don't have money but who are popular. They're going to be on the lookout for those who are going to try to use money.
Now, I want to ask you this critical question. Do you think that we've shut out a lot of very intelligent and brilliant people?
There's no doubt.
Because they didn't have monies to give to delegates and then go around
there's no doubt.
To share to people?
In any case, you see, this indirect primaries is patently faulted. 3,000, 4,000 people. Before, that used to be a huge number. But today, I mean, I know that for the PDP convention or APC convention, minimum a delegate will go home with $10,000. I mean, that's crazy. But then, if we don't use direct delegate system, and we allow it to be direct delegate system, in which case, every ward of the federation votes for the aspirants.
Isn't that what President Buhari wanted initially?
And then because if you say every ward votes, then they will say that, you know, if you are not a financial member, we will, on this issue of voting, you don't have to be a financial member. You only have to be a card-carrying member. So in my ward, if there are 5,000 people in my ward, okay, and there are about 230 wards in my state, so how many people do you want to give money to? It's going to be it's going to be more difficult.
Yeah, but
President
Buhari tried to bring these issues of
but the
direct primaries, but even your own political party, the People's Democratic Party, kicked against it, saying that direct primaries is too expensive.
No. The system will kick against it because it makes it more difficult for beneficiaries to emerge. If I want to be a governor or I want to be president, if it is you know, a direct primary, it's much more difficult to emerge. But that is the way, that's the route we must go, and that is the beginning. Those are the first steps that we must take to correct this ill. We must correct it. Otherwise, we keep. I mean, you will see interesting results from primaries. You know, I mean, for APC, it is quite clear. It is wherever the president goes. Whether the president is right or wrong, that is going to be the president. For PDP, it is who has the highest amount of money. So this is the joke of the whole thing.
And we've been hearing that people are receiving monies here and there. You have said $10,000 in the past. Now we've heard that more than $20,000 would or maybe offered to people.
That's what I said. I said minimum. You know, this weekend. You know, minimum people will collect.
What's the role of anti-graft agencies at the convention venues? When you see someone bringing dollars and sharing, not even naira, what is the implication to our monetary system, fiscal policies, and all of that?
The monies that are used at the convention venues are, what do you call it now? They are backups. The real money has been given the night before, you know, to the delegates where they stay. Forget about it's not about at the convention venue. If you have given $3,000, all right, and when you get home, you hear that other people gave $5,000. That's when at the convention venue you top up. You top up. That's what I was looking for. Top up. It's top up.
Very interesting. Okay, we've seen some instance in the past where delegates are locked up by some governors in their governor lodges in Abuja. They prevent some aspirants from accessing them.
They even go as far as Lafayette to you know, quarantine them.
Yeah, I mean, I just read recently, just a few days ago, that some delegates were asked to go to a cemetery. Some people were asked to go to a warehouse so that they are inaccessible to certain aspirants.
Other people, yes.
Why would someone who want to serve the party and the Nigerian people go to that extent?
It is because of the system we run. You know, Nigeria must take a decision. It's either we want to move along with the civilized world and do things in a civilized manner and obey the rule of law and allow democratic principles and ideals to prevail, or we just continue going backwards and doing things, you know, like savages. And, you know, we must take a decision. We need to take a decision. I mean, if you still want a country where, you know, if I hit your motorcycle, you know, I can be lynched, or if I say something against a religion, I can be burnt. So those are the decisions. It's not just about elections. You know, we need to take serious decisions in this country
about our society.
About what kind of society do we want to live in. And this is what Peter Obi is all about.
Well, we're going to talk about Peter Obi later on. I initially talked about locking of delegates here and there because it happened during Goodluck Jonathan's 2015 election, where Atiku was crying out loud that it was difficult for him to access some of the delegates. We just hope that this time around we don't see state governors repeating that, because every aspirant, I mean the very serious contender, should have access to all the delegates, talk to them, share your messages and all of that, and maybe share some other things if that's the case. But let's talk about the new powers of the ad hoc delegates. You have been a statutory delegate yourself in one way or the other.
Even right now, I'm not even a statutory delegate. I'm an elected national delegate.
Okay.
So I'm one of the elected national delegates. I want you to talk
about the difference between statutory and you know, ad hoc delegates in terms of what really happens inside. Okay. We already know from outside. But from inside, what are the powers actually of being an ad hoc delegate, and then the joys of being a super delegate, as it's called?
The job of a delegate is actually to go on the convention ground and vote. So on that basis, you know, ad hoc delegates and statutory delegates have the same powers.
Irrespective of whether you're minister, governor,
no, it doesn't matter. Just
convention ground.
You just got just that one vote.
Okay.
But the thing is that the statutory delegates are much more in number than the elected delegates in most cases. Because, for instance, from my state, we have 20 local governments. So those who are elected by election, there's a national delegate that emerges, in every local government. So we have 20 local governments. So we're only 20 national delegates. That's all. And we're, for Ogun State, I think we're about very close to 100 delegates. So others are former governors, former senators, serving senators, House of Rep members, ministers, local government chairmen. Those are the statutory delegates. But in terms of powers, the powers are the same. Because the potential relevance of a delegate is his ability to cast his vote. So it doesn't matter whether you're a statutory or you're an ad hoc delegate.
Now that we don't have statutory, can we say that there may be a revolution in the thinking of how delegates exercise their voting franchise? Since the governors, the party leaders will not be there to tell them or teleguide them, do you think that by chance we may have a situation whereby history is smiling at us after the mistake by the National Assembly, and the ad hoc delegates will just go and vote based on their conscience since no one is there to teleguide them?
That is what you think. I'm in the system, I know. Even if there's no governor there, even if there's no minister, there are people to teleguide. In some cases, when you vote, you show the man behind you, your ballot paper before you drop it. You understand? So we know where you voted, where you voted. But, for me, classically, I think this is a major aberration where a president will emerge. The delegate sample is too few.
That's what Ike Kwerimadu was saying, the former deputy president of the Senate. That
it's not a representative. It's not enough a representative sample.
Yeah, that your constitution, the PDP says that there is a particular quorum that must be met.
Yeah.
And so, if we have only the ad hoc delegates, the quorum may not meet.
774 plus Abuja, maybe it's less than 800 people.
If it's 3 per state, the PDP says...
No, it's not 3 per state. For the national delegate, it's 1 per local government. 1 per local government.
But with the statement by the National Organizing Secretary said 3 local governments...
That's for state conventions, state congresses, where they elect governors, where they elect senators, where they elect House of Rep members. Those are 3 delegates. All right? Let me say it for the purpose of clarity.
Okay, because
from the wards, this is what happened. In a ward, the ward is the smallest unit of the political outfit. So you have a ward. When the congresses begin, people go to their wards and elections for delegates take place. In every ward, about 13 or 14 people are elected. 10 local government delegates. All right, 10 local government delegates and 3 state delegates. Do you understand? So the next week, the 10 local government delegates go to the local government, and meet other local government delegates, and they now each in turn elect one person per local government. Those ones come to the National Convention. But I've seen the constitutions of the parties now. Before, once you are elected as a national delegate, your field of play is at the National Convention.
Only.
But now, because I was called at home that, I'm supposed to come to the grounds and come and vote for House of Rep. I said, how? I'm a national delegate. I said, yes. The law allows you.
Because that's what we're hearing.
Yeah, the law allows you. Ideally, that was not. But, it's okay. It's a constitutional matter. If it's the constitution, it is okay.
All right. I will ask you to hold on and we'll go on this short break. When we come back, we'll now talk about your campaigns as the Director General of the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Council. You're still watching the Rise interview. The conversation continues. When we return, stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the conversations. I'm Somna Sambo, and we've been discussing the delegate system in Nigeria, presidential primaries, and then, of course, primaries at other levels. And I still have with me Dr. Doyin Okupe, who's the Director General of the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Council. He's a two-term former presidential advisor on media and public affairs to two presidents, President Olusegun Obasanjo and President Goodluck Jonathan. And I still have you here with me. Thank you for your patience. And let's talk about Peter Obi, the man you're selling to the Nigerian public, especially the PDP delegates. How is he being received? You've gone around the whole country except for one state, Adamawa, in deference to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Tell us more about this.
Thank you very much,
aspirant of yours.
Sambo. You will recall that I, myself, I made a declaration that I wanted to run for president.
Yeah.
And I'm not a joker.
And I'm surprised you actually
I'm not a joker. You know, I mean, this is 42 years in this business, in politics. And I came in as, as a rookie, and I went all the way up by the grace of God. So when I tell you that I want to run for president, I meant it. I wasn't joking. But then I stopped and I thought again. And I decided to quit for two reasons. One was that, in truth, as a Christian that I am, and I profess to be, very seriously, truth and justice are the pillars of the throne of the Almighty God himself. Therefore, equity, truth, and justice must prevail in anything that we do. Is it true that the Southeast have never really had a chance to be president? Yes, it is true. Is it equitable that they should not have a shot at it? It is not equitable. Is it just? It's not just. Therefore, I, as a Southwesterner, a Southwestern politician, I do not have a right to claim or to want to be president when we have agreed on the principles of rotation in this country. Our agreement on rotation is not based on zones. The agreement is not based on zone Southwest.
The geopolitical zones.
Yes, it is north and south.
The two divides.
The two divides, that's it. But then, I told you, when I looked at it seriously, I felt that the north is just about to finish 8 years. So naturally, and even in my own party, PDP, it is clearly stated in the constitution of the party. And when a party disobeys his own constitution, there are very serious consequences for this. But that is not the issue that I want to talk about now. So when I looked at it, the presidency should come south. If it comes to the south, the Southwest has had its fill. Let us be fair. Obasanjo was president for 8 years. Yemi Osinbajo is the current vice president, and by next year he will have done another 8 years. Excuse me. Anybody contesting in the Southwest doesn't mean well for the country. Then we come to the South-South. Jonathan has just finished before Buhari. So the South-South too is on. Now, the only blank there that exists is the Southeast.
That's within the southern bloc.
Yes, is the Southeast not part of Nigeria? If the Southeast is part of Nigeria, do they not have a right to aspire to any position, the topest position in the country? I don't agree. I am not an Igbo man. But it is not fair, it is not equitable, and Nigerians, when I say Nigerians, I say all Nigerians must come to the decision today that we must end the civil war. The civil war was a regrettable thing. It was something that is not, it's part of our history. It's a sad part of our history, but we must end it.
There must be forgiveness.
We must stop punishing the Igbos for the civil war. And
so that's why you had to step down.
That's why I stepped down and I said I will support somebody from the Southeast. And when I look at the people who came out from the southeast, Peter Obi is a million years ahead of others. And I will explain it to you, Sambo.
Ahmed, go ahead.
Peter, Peter Obi is a man of this moment, is a man in which all the elements have been mixed thoroughly together to make him a unique personality amongst us. It is, in every generation, you have the Mahatma Gandhis, you have the other gentleman in Malaysia, in every generation, when there are critical issues in the country, God always sends a messenger.
So is it the Lee Kuan Yew of Nigeria?
Correct. For this period and this time. And I'm not a frivolous human being, and I will explain it. Look, let us take educational background. Peter Obi was educated at University of Nigeria, Nsukka, after which he went to the Lagos Business School. When he left the Lagos Business School, he's been in the four walls of the citadels of the most celebrated, commendable postgraduate institutions of learning globally. He has been to Harvard. He has been to Kellogg's. He's a distinguished scholar of Kellogg's. He's been a student of some of the best postgraduate schools in France and Switzerland. And he has been to the two greatest universities in the world, Oxford and Cambridge. Please, I have seen CVs of contestants. I'm not talking about PDP. I'm talking about APC, PDP. Put them together and come and tell me who amongst everybody contesting, who has a better CV that shows better preparedness than Peter Obi. I will stop
where
this
will you
job
place
today.
Yemi Osinbajo, who is a professor of
Yemi
law?
Osinbajo is my brother. Yemi Osinbajo, we went to school
All
together.
of that.
Listen now, he's a professor of law. And that's it. Everything Yemi Osinbajo is about law. I've seen his CV. It's about 17 pages. It doesn't mean anything. It's law writings, law equipment, law whatever. That's not it. This is Peter Obi. All right. He studied business. He studied management. He studied economic development. It is a diverse thing that is relevant to our present situation.
And people in politics will tell you that in Nigeria's playbook of politics, that's not enough to make you a president.
I agree. I agree with you. It's not enough. Except that Peter Obi has more. In the corporate world, none of the contestants, not one, comes close to him. He's been the chief executive of SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. He has been the CEO, director, or chairman of at least 11 publicly quoted companies in Nigeria, 2 of which were banks, all of which he ran well. The records are there.
And you think that your party will give its ticket to him
because
it's all of this?
I have not finished.
Because
Sambo, hold on. Now, I thought you would say, what has all this got to do with politics? Yeah. Now, in terms of politics, that's what I'm saying. When God does something, he does it in perfection. Peter is perfect in all spheres of assessment. When you come to politics, we have evidence that this man was governor of Anambra for 8 years. When he was going to Anambra, Anambra was in a terrible situation in terms of security. In a short while, Peter was able to drive away all the miscreants and people causing problems in that state. When he got to that state, on the academic scale, YX scale, Anambra was number 26 in the country. By the time he was leaving, he took Anambra to number 1 in the country. That's a feat, 26-1. And I want to tell you also, amongst those who have governed Nigeria, dead and living, none comes close to Peter Obi in terms of...
In what terms?
Yeah, very good. Nobody except late Yaradua has left any serious money in the coffers for the incoming governor. Yaradua, may God bless his soul, left 5 billion. Peter Obi left 75 billion naira.
As good as that is, that's where the criticism lies.
That he can.
How could he have been leaving 75 billion naira in an Anambra that you go to today and you still see development challenges? Why not put that into helping to uplift the state more than it is at the moment.
Good talk. America has been existing for the past 250 years. Are they not still developing? Has development stopped? Will development stop? You know, how much, is there no limit to amount of development you can do in 4 years or 8 years? You know, should you say because you want to keep spending money? Look, if the successive governor or, you know, or government had done what Peter Obi did by saving those $150 million, today Anambra will have an equivalent of $2 to $3 billion in account, and it will not even require any money from federal account. Savings, you know, you cannot spend, you know, you cannot spend everything that you have. This man shows prudence both in public management and in his own personal person.
Have you seen the next Nigerian president in Peter Obi, based on what you've been
saying? The only person
and what the delegates have been saying while you go around the country? I'm interested in knowing what they've been telling you, the delegates, in the midst of all of this.
Let me tell you, I'm a Christian, and I'm not saying that for fun. Everywhere we have gone, you know, I mean, I'm the director general of the campaign, so I've been to everywhere. Everywhere I've gone, small people, middle class people, political leaders, they've called me. They called me and said, Doyin, let us face the truth. And I'm telling you this before God and man. God sees my heart as I talk on this television tonight. Everybody calls me and says, Doyin, this your candidate is truly the best. But, you know, try and talk to our, let's talk to our, try and talk to our leaders. What does that mean?
And the leaders, of course.
You know, if you say this man is the best, look, when you have a car that breaks down in the middle of nowhere, what do you require? You need a mechanic, not a driver. I mean, there are many good, I mean, you mentioned the vice president, you know, there are so many other people in PDP and all that, very good drivers, you know, of the economy. I mean, not the economy, of the country. If things were to be normal. But in Nigeria today, we know that things are not normal. Look, Nigeria today is, like Peter always says, is comparable to the great Titanic that sank. You know, it was such an architectural perfection that those who built it said, even God cannot sink this. But guess what? When it started to sink, you know, it has so many layers. People were on the top deck having fun, enjoying music,
themselves while it was sinking.
While the Titanic was sinking. That's what we're doing in Nigeria today.
Yeah.
The Nigerian Titanic is sinking, but a few of us are still on the deck, merry making.
Yeah, but a lot of persons are afraid, Doyin Okupe, that Peter Obi doesn't have the federal experience to govern this country, because Nigeria is a complex country, and management of its diversity alone is one that, you know, you need an experienced politician who has done federal jobs, have federal experience to be able to manage. Do you think that Peter Obi has the national experience to be able to manage this?
Good point, Sambo. Good point, Sambo. Sambo, listen to me. Right now, if you go and bring the best person, the best politician, right now, but that doesn't have the requisite knowledge of how to halt this decline, kickstart and rejig this economy, all your contacts, all your understanding of Nigerian federal system is a waste. Absolute waste. Right now, what we need is a man that himself is prudent. He has demonstrated capacity and ability to manage public funds, which Peter has done. He has self-discipline. I tell you something about Peter. Peter Obi was governor of Anambra State. The chairman of the Development Corporation went to meet him and said, Governor, you know, we have some land. This is your, you know, we've reserved some for you and members of your cabinet. Peter Obi told the man, said, don't do this again. I was sworn in as the governor of this state. I have become the custodian of the property of this state. I cannot partake in it. Even if he doesn't even have all the degrees I mentioned, for that type of disposition, I will follow him.
Yeah, but you haven't answered my question. Does Peter Obi have the national experience that a lot of Nigerians are saying? Because some people are saying that this government, Buhari's government, mismanaged the country's diversity. And we're having calls of lack of national cohesion, nepotism here and there, and all of that. And so we need a unifying
You know that Peter has been out of government for quite a while. And even when he was government, he has been extremely very, very close to the villa. I worked with President Jonathan. Obi was one of his advisors, if you do not know. He was one of his,
that's why he influenced him into coming to the PDP.
And he was always there. You know what? You learn things by acquisition of knowledge, by proximity, by exposure. He is an extremely exposed personality, and he has demonstrated capacity to grasp issues, that are relevant and important. I do not have any fears whatsoever. There's no man that has it all. Of course, mind you, there will be vice president, there will be political advisors, there will be this, there will be that.
Yeah, that is how the presidency is
that is how government is run.
Okay.
No man is the government. No man.
Okay, as we try to round off this conversation, Dr. Doyin Okupe, you and I know that there's an innate fear among the Nigerian elites, including in your party, the PDP, that a Peter Obi presidency will not play within the Nigerian elite playbook. And that's why they're afraid of his emergence as a PDP presidential candidate or even the president of the country. Can you assure these elites that things will not go the way they are thinking?
Let me tell you, before these issues, I was not Peter Obi's friend. I know him. It is this politics and his running for presidency that make me close to him. In the last 10 weeks or 12, we've slept in the same room, we've slept in the same hotel, I've become very, very close to him. Let me tell you categorically, Peter Obi is ready to lose this election if it means he must play ball. He's not going to play ball with anybody. We don't need a president that's going to play ball, Sambo. We need a president that has only the interests of the masses in his heart. We need, there's too much suffering in this land. There's too much wickedness. There's too much evil. This is not the time for, like I told you, dancing on the Titanic. This is the time to sit down and do serious business.
Does it mean that if Peter Obi doesn't get the ticket, he will defect to another party to contest? Is that what you're saying? Very quickly.
No, I didn't say he will defect. But what I know, and I'm trusting God that Peter Obi, and I'm assuring Nigerians, Peter Obi will be on the presidential ballot in 2023, as God liveth.
Well, it will be a miracle if it's not on the ticket of the PDP, and then he
we don't have money. We don't have the money to play. Okay. Like everybody else has to play. Yeah. And we also,
but you're confident of his emergence.
We are also limited and constrained by moral consideration of right and wrong and principled position. We will not give $20,000, $30,000 for somebody so that Obi will be president.
But
no, we're not going to do that.
Will Obi consider vice presidency if it's thrown at him?
If Obi was looking for vice president, I would have been out of this circuit. I'm not interested.
We must thank you so much, Dr. Doyin Okupe.
It's my pleasure.
The Director General of the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Council, a very knowledgeable individual who has a lot of intelligence on Nigeria's presidency, and you've informed us about how the presidency works and how we've seen a Peter Obi being an advisor to former President Goodluck Jonathan.
I wish you said all this before. Maybe I would have quit.
Yeah, I mean, you've also enlightened us on the delegate system.
Thank you.
We must thank you for being on the show right now. That's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Somna Sam.